When people die, someone has to clean up. The body leaves behind more than just what's visible. Fluids seep, walls absorb, the air itself seems to hold the memory. It's not a job most people want, but for Thomas and Rachel Mercer, it was their life. They ran Mercer Biorecovery, a trauma cleanup company working across small towns in Central Oregon. They wore gloves, masks, and practiced a kind of ritual: erase, restore, move on. They cleaned up after murders, suicides, accidents, moments where grief had already done its worst. For 5 years, the Mercers worked in silence. They scrubbed and disinfected, restoring order where chaos had broken loose. But somewhere along the way, the line between mercy and deceit began to fade. When police finally raided their warehouse in late 2020, they uncovered not just cleaning supplies, but evidence from multiple unsolved crimes. Thomas and Rachel Mercer had stopped cleaning up after crimes. They'd started erasing them. The Mercers didn't start out as criminals. When they founded their business in 2016, they were just trying to survive. Thomas had once been a firefighter. A back injury forced him into early retirement. The loss of that uniform, that purpose, left him restless. Rachel, a former ER nurse, had watched trauma for years from the other side. Now she wanted to help clean it up. Trauma cleanup seemed almost noble. They thought of it as aftercare, an act of service for families no one else would help. Their clients often couldn't bear to step inside the scene of their loss, and the Mercers gave them back something resembling peace. But even compassion has a cost. The job introduced them to the rawest parts of human nature: rage, grief, despair. They learned how blood seeps under baseboards, how it clings to grout, how nothing truly disappears, it only hides. Their reputation grew quickly. Police liked them, said they were efficient, discreet. The Mercers learned to work around detectives, to know what was evidence and what wasn't. It was after a domestic homicide in a trailer park that Rachel found her first secret: a shell casing wedged under the refrigerator, missed by investigators. She hesitated, glove trembling, then pocketed it without a word. She told herself she'd turn it in later. She never did. That night, the casing sat on their kitchen table like a relic. They ate takeout in silence, both pretending not to notice it. Rachel couldn't stop staring. It was just metal, a piece of brass, but it felt like holding someone's story. She wondered who had fired it, whether the man accused had really pulled the trigger. Thomas broke the silence first. "If we tell them," he said, "they'll drag us into it. More questions, more attention." She nodded. She didn't want attention. They were supposed to clean things, not complicate them. In time, it became easier. A missed item here, a stained carpet replaced instead of sampled, a family's relief bought with silence. It was small, almost merciful. But something changed in Rachel. She began to see each scene as a puzzle, fragments of truth left behind by chaos. She'd linger over them, as though searching for a moral reason to intervene. And Thomas? He just wanted the money. By their 3rd year, Mercer Biorecovery had become one of the most trusted cleanup services in the region, a husband and wife operation known for discretion. That word became their brand, their shield, and eventually, their weapon. By 2018, the Mercer's business had evolved into something more than cleanup. They were now a secret that the desperate could buy. It started with a phone call one night, a man claiming his brother had done something stupid. He didn't want the police involved. He wanted the place cleaned before sunrise. They went. They didn't ask questions. The smell hit them first. Thick, metallic. In the kitchen, they found blood pooled under the stove. It led to a backyard shed. Inside was the knife. Thomas stood staring at it, jaw tight. He didn't speak. Rachel watched him reach for a garbage bag, and she didn't stop him. They burned it that night in a fire pit behind their warehouse. For the first time, their work wasn't about restoration. It was about deletion. And once they realized how easy it was to make something vanish, it was impossible not to do it again. Soon, Mercer Biorecovery doubled its income. Families stopped asking for receipts. They paid in cash, grateful for peace of mind. Rachel tried to believe they were helping, that removing a weapon or hiding a mistake was a kind of mercy. Thomas stopped trying to justify it at all. But the stains on the floors weren't the only ones spreading. Their marriage began to erode quietly under the weight of their secrets. Rachel had nightmares. Thomas started drinking before dawn. Every morning, they'd load the van, masks, gloves, chemicals, and drive through neighborhoods filled with people who would never suspect what was hidden in that spotless white vehicle. Then came the case that would unravel them. A supposed suicide in a lakeside rental cabin. A man and a woman. A gunshot, a note. Police left satisfied. But Rachel saw the angle of the blood spatter and knew instantly. The man hadn't shot himself. Someone else had been there. She told Thomas. He told her to finish the job. That night, Rachel stood by the lake, staring at the reflection of the cabin in the water. For the first time in years, she felt afraid of the man standing beside her. The lakeside job should have been their last. Rachel wanted to walk away, to report what she'd seen. But Thomas had already taken the client's money, cash in a folded envelope, no name, no address. The evidence was burned within hours. After that, she couldn't look at him the same. She packed a bag one morning, meaning to leave quietly. But before she could, detectives reopened one of their old cases, a shooting they'd cleaned 2 years earlier. They wanted to re-examine the scene, check disposal records. Thomas said it was fine. Rachel knew it wasn't. The detectives never found the missing shell casing. But they started asking questions. And Rachel started to break. It took months for everything to collapse. In October 2020, detectives raided Mercer Biorecovery's warehouse. They found blood-stained rags, burned remains of metal fragments, and items that matched evidence from at least 4 unsolved cases. Thomas was arrested first, found at the warehouse, sitting beside the van with a cigarette and an empty coffee mug. Rachel turned herself in 2 days later. During questioning, she said, "We did it for the families." When asked which families, she went silent. Neither ever confessed to destroying evidence intentionally, but the proof was already in the ashes. The Mercers were convicted of obstruction of justice, evidence tampering, and multiple counts of fraud. They weren't murderers, but they had decided who deserved to be remembered and who deserved to be erased. Their story sparked a national debate over the private trauma cleanup industry, a hidden world between law enforcement and grief, where the line between compassion and complicity is only as steady as the person holding the mop. Thomas is serving 12 years. Rachel received 8. The van was auctioned. The warehouse stands empty, dust settling where once there was bleach and the scent of guilt. In the end, they didn't clean crime scenes. They cleaned conscience.